Before I could finish my thoughts, I felt Clay shaking me from my stupor. "We need to get out of here, dude. Come on, let's go." Phone flashlights in our hand, we squeezed out of the seats and onto the narrow stairway, now flooding with confused band kids. The emergency lights above flickered on, and everything was painted in a dim red glow. We passed everyone else by going back to the seats and climbing up that way, on the back. Once we reached the top, we found an opening and we took it. Laura and Clay never looked back, probably focused on the situation at hand, but I never told him what I saw when I did. I never told him how all the adults and directors were suspiciously missing, and I especially didn't tell them that the band, the one dressed in all black from what I could barely make out, still haven't moved from their spot on the field. Just standing there. We were about there to the doors when I noticed that no one was getting through. "Crap, they must have locked us in," I said, turning to my friends. "This is insane. What are we even supposed to do?" said Laura. I could barely hear her now over the constant yelling of the others. Just then, a loud boom came from the field of the stadium. Everyone turned, and I could make out the black uniforms of the band that was supposed to perform. I could not see their faces, but now they were closer, in the entryways to the seats. I could make out the fact that they still didn't even move a muscle, just stood there, still. But not for long, because the next thing we knew, one of the black suit band kids stepped out of his line, grabbed a random kid, and promptly broke his neck with minimal effort. For a second, everyone froze, and sweat began to form on my brow. "Guys," I whispered. Suddenly, the dark band started pouring out of the entryways and pouncing on the nearest kids. "We have to get out of here, take our stuff, find somewhere to hide. This place is big, and there's an entire section cut off, this way," Clayton said, pointing. He was yelling now to be heard of the others. "He's right," I added. "We hide and wait for help. We're in a city, for Christ's sake. There has to be someone that notices something." Laura nodded in approval, and we started collectively running down the other side of the stadium, passing by many different band kids in and out of uniform. We all gave up on finding the adults, and were now filled with a terrifying, confused sense of panic. My mind was screaming, but my legs kept moving to keep up with Laura and Clay. Just keep going, I thought. Just keep going. The further we got from the crowd and the exits that didn't open, the quieter it became. And I, like my friends, was finally able to get my wits about me. We just reached the blocked off part of the stadium and slipped through a gap in the movable walls that blocked off each section. Closing the wall behind us, we took in our new surroundings. This was the part of the stadium that thankfully was a canteen. Chairs were stacked up against a dozen or so tables, with a hot dog stand and a pizza stand and other food stands on the wall. The makeshift room extended about 50 feet in length, with another movable wall cracked and open on the other side, probably for airflow. Clay quickly walked to the other side of the wall and promptly closed it, blocking us in, while Laura and I set up our bags and moved some chairs and tables around to provide cover. The sounds of the others had faded into the ether, and I began to relax just a bit, but still on edge. No sounds can't be good. We were all still so confused, but we were resourceful. Clay walked over us and took a seat at the opposite end of the table as me and Laura, and we emptied our packs into the table. I frowned. We had between the three of us 3 extra jackets, 2 phone chargers, useless, a bag of chips, cookies, water bottles, and my wallet, about $60 in it, also useless. Well, maybe not so for much for the vending machines, I said to Clay, trying to make light of the situation. If I was gonna die, or best case scenario, be trapped in here for who knows how long, we could at least have packed something useful, I thought. But then again, we were only at a band competition, so what can you do? This was a classic rebuttal to the phrase, "What's the worst that can happen?" I said as much to Clay, who responded with a simple, "This is freaking nuts." We would have tried to call the cops or something, but service in the stadium was terrible at the best of times. So no luck there. Wi-Fi is down too, I said. It's okay. We just have to stay away from the others and someone will come for us, Laura said, being the delusional optimist as she usually is. Others? I quipped. Yeah, I mean, we have to have some name for the band that's trying to kill us all. The mood lightens slightly, and Clayton cracked a half-hearted smile. Dark band? I'll settle with the others, I replied. We shared a laugh then, so somehow finding a way to find joy in this mess. I don't know. The sun was getting low, the small windows showing the San Antonio skyline drenched in a sea of orange. The parking lot was, from what I can see, still full of band buses and trucks, but no people. Shocker there. We were tired, but we were still unsure about sleeping, considering that there were people out trying to kill us. I pondered on what the guy on the intercom said before the lights went out. Did he really expect us to fight back? Fight against the other bands? Against those kids in dark uniforms that were each 6 feet tall? At least? My thoughts were once again interrupted as Clay told us, "I'm gonna go make sure we're secure in here. Maybe look down the hall a little ways." He got up and started towards the sliding wall. "Be careful," I said. "And come back," Laura added. And with that, Clay nodded and shut us back in. And left. Laura yawned, and I looked over at her. "You can get some sleep if you want," I said. She gave me a concerned look. "Are you sure? What if the others come this way, or—" I cut her off. "Don't worry, I'm a boxer, remember?" She rolled her eyes and laughed at that. "Well, when Clay comes back, wake me up, or in an hour, whichever comes first." "Yes, ma'am," I replied. She slept. Some time passed. I'm not sure how long, but I remember the sliding door opening once again and Clay walking through. "I found some friends," he said, and from behind him came Josh, Wade, and Kinsey. Trumpet, trombone, and flute player, respectively. Not that it matters at this point in the story. I hugged Josh and asked him if he was alright. Thankfully, they didn't look too bad out of shape. Laura finally woke up and repeated the same steps I just did. After the brief interaction, we sat down and got to work. "We're getting out of here," Clay said, being the bad as he was. "But first, we need a plan." "Hey, we're band kids," I replied. "Sure, we'll think of something."